Welcome, everybody. Good morning and welcome to Great Life, Greater Impact. We're so excited to sit around this round table with all of y'all. This is a very ascended group of people. These are truth seekers. These are people who really just want to get at growing, expanding, learning. And that's what you and I are here for. And we want to do that too. We're very like-minded. In fact, I was trying to think of how to introduce you into this class today because you're so many things to me. You're a sister, you're a companion, you're a friend, you're a shaman, you're a healer, you're so many things. And that's what I love about you is that you fill those many roles for me. And I feel like I kind of reciprocate some of that stuff to you. It's very mutual. Welcome to these classes. We do these classes free every single Tuesday, and it's mostly just a group discussion where we can talk about things that oftentimes you can't always talk about out in the world in your different systems and cultures and places where you normally connect with people, because not everybody's ready to have these kinds of conversations. So we want to create a safe space where we can hear each other, see each other, listen, and seek for understanding and unity. So today's topic that I felt to come up with, as you and I have been visiting and talking back and forth, Anne, was and you mentioned this too, the new earth. We talk about the new earth. We talk about this transition from the 3D dimension or reality into 5D. Some people in religious culture might call that going from a telestial paradigm into a terrestrial paradigm, or even a celestial paradigm. As we're all starting to expand ourselves, our consciousness, and wake up and open our eyes to bigger, brighter, expanded views of who we are in this world, who we are to God, who we are to one another, who we are to ourselves. And so for me, that's spiritual awakening, is just an expanded view, an expanded consciousness of who we actually really are. And I think one of the things that, Anne, as I've watched you and I've observed you, I think one of the things that you do, one of the gifts that you bring to this planet is wisdom. I think that you are highly spiritually advanced. I think that you are spiritually sovereign. At least when I think about spiritual sovereignty, I think about you. We've had this conversation before, but you have mentioned how sometimes you'll see people talk about these new topics that have to do with our expanded awareness and consciousness, and you're like, wow, I received that 20 years ago, or whatever. And so I also see you as a forerunner, for helping others make sense of their expansion and their awakening, and because we're all in different paths and it's all going to unfold in different ways for each of us. So I see you as a forerunner. I see you as a light bringer. I see you as someone who walks in the highest light of God, and a truth seeker. And I recognize a lot of those things in me too. I think that one of the things that I do is I help prepare the way for people like you to come in and then bring these messages that can open us up even further and expand us even further to that. So with that being said, I'm going to turn some time over to you to just, people have seen you on my channel before, but if you would just introduce yourself, tell us where you live, give us a little background if you want to, and then let's go into the meat of this conversation.
Thank you, Janet. Thank you so much for that. You know, as you said, forerunner, it just reminded me of something I've shared with you where pretty much my whole life, you know, I've had these experiences and, you know, I get excited and passionate and I share it with people. And then like, what are you talking about? You know, even years ago at meditation, I was doing it since I was a teenager or, you know, 20. And even to just talk about meditation. And then when I became a clinical hypnotherapist, to even talk about that. So I was always about 10 years or more sort of ahead of the game.
Mm-hmm.
but I could never put all of this out there because people were not ready. And it's like right now we can talk about channeling, we can talk about all of these things. And yet some of us have been experiencing that for a long time, right? So this is so exciting for me that we have stepped into that new earth, as we call it. We have arrived. And I just want to mention Jason for a moment because I had everything I have here on paper, which I will refer to, was like a download. It's like, okay, you're going to speak today. Here's the download. Here's what you need to talk about. And I've expressed to Janet before that these downloads happen. And if I don't write them down or do something with them, it's like they're just gone, So getting kind of into the beginning of some of the stuff that came down. And oh, by the way, yes, going back to what you said. So I do life coaching. And so I'm a clinical hypnotherapist. I've been doing that for probably over 30 years or so. And I teach meditation at UCLA. UCLA has a retreat up here, and I do a mindfulness walk and meditation. So I'm excited about opening people's minds to meditation as well. And now I'm on a platform where I do channeling, and it's called Oracle, ORYKL. And so that's another door that I've opened, which we've all done it. We all channel, by the way. We all do all of these things. Maybe we didn't have a name for it. And so I realized I was doing that for a long time. But now it's okay to say channeling, right? So
yes. And you know what's interesting too? And I was listening to a podcast this morning, and the woman that was on there was, she had some psychic abilities and some spiritual gifts and like really tuned in to the spirit realm. And she started talking about channeling cosmic beings from the cosmos and celestial beings. And 10, 20 years ago, that would have been really super weird
right,
for a lot
right,
of people. But now, it just seems like we can talk about this more openly because so many more people are ready to have
right,
these conversations, and they're starting to wake up and open their eyes and realize, oh, we are doing that, like you just
right,
said.
right,
But I also feel that the more we wake up, the more we open our eyes, the more we wield this great power inside of ourselves to make a change in the world and to choose a new paradigm.
right. Absolutely. Yeah. And interestingly enough, I wrote my book, which is on Amazon. And even that, I mean, it was literally a download of 2 months, like just going into meditation and then coming out of it and writing. Um, and it was about a lot of these experiences that happened even when I was a child.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember asking some friends, I said, well, now you know everything about me. What do you think? And they surprisingly to me said, well, we love you even more. I was waiting for that. Oh my God, what is this stuff about? Right. But I'm going to refer a little bit to the download I got. And basically it says that a new earth means that we have transitioned. So, we've been talking about waiting. When is this coming?
Yeah.
And we have, but at the same time, we're still sloughing off old energies. And I think that's something that Jason had talked about, day 1 and day 7, together. And I feel like that is where we're at. And so remnants of old ways, old behaviors and patterns are still in the process of being sloughed off. And so I feel like all of us who are on the spiritual path, it's like this cleansing is the deepest that it's ever been.
Yeah.
Because in order to step into this new earth or fifth dimension, whatever you want to call it, we have to literally let go of everything that is no longer working for us and serving us. So it's not just like, oh, I had this behavior and I released that and I'm aware of it. No, it's about getting even into the body, which is what I like about your work with quantum healing, getting into the body and getting into the root chakra and literally removing all these things. And perhaps that's why we've been struggling with, illnesses and different things that, we've discussed. I feel that while we're removing and letting go, that there's going to be some disruption, right, in our energy field. But this is definitely about completely cleansing at the deepest level.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and my feeling is, and this is, again, this is all, like I said, download, and Janet always says this, whatever resonates with you, great. I can only share my experiences and my feelings and what the journey that I've been on. So hopefully some of this will resonate with you. So one of the things I got is that as the third dimension awareness will become one timeline, and fifth dimension awareness will be another.
Mm-hmm.
So meaning we'll notice people living still in the old ways and the old patterns, old behaviors, but then we'll notice people living in this newer pattern and behavior, right? And so we'll be aware of both of those things for quite a while. And as we completely shift, those of us here especially, shift into this fifth dimension pattern and behavior, we will notice less and less of that third dimension. We'll completely move into this new earth, so to speak. Does that make sense to you guys, by the way?
Yes.
So
People are
I'm very,
nodding.
okay, I'm very visual. I'm very colorful in my expressions. So if something doesn't make sense, please speak up, say something. Thank you, Mike.
So, and we have a lot of people on here that come from religious background, and some of the terminology that they use for this 5D reality is Zion.
Okay.
That for centuries, this Zionistic world, or this Zion view of people living in unity and oneness and Christ consciousness, if you want to call it that, where there's no poor and there's no inequality, but there's just oneness and unity and collaboration and harmony and love on the highest levels. That's been predicted for centuries. And not only has it been predicted, as Jason said, it's been cyclical. Like it's happened over and over and over. We have different records of ancient cultures who have lived a Zionistic way. And so we know that it's happened. And as I've read through the story or the accounts that talk about Enoch and the city of Zion and how it was translated and taken up, I've always asked the question, how did they do that? How did he lead people to such an ascended place that these people literally were ascended right off of this prison earth?
So are you reading off my notes?
Well,
So
I would love for you to talk about that. And then we do have a question from Mike when you get.
yeah. So you're a little step ahead of me. I was going to get into that oneness and unity and all of that. But here's the thing, as you're talking about that, it reminded me that every religion, every culture, every thought, if you really peel away the layers of and pardon my language, but the BS, if you peel away, the rules that confined us, all of those things, at the very core level, we're expressing the same thing. We're wanting the same thing.
Mhm.
So whether you're LDS, I grew up Catholic, whatever it is, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
At that core level, they were saying the same things, but it got lost along the way, because people were living in that third dimension energy, competition and, wanting to, and I would have to say that some of those cultures and religions became almost cult-like.
Yeah.
And so we lost that freedom. But initially, I feel like they were all coming from a place of wanting love and
Yeah.
unity, community, all of those things. So we're still saying the same thing. And again, as I listened to, pardon me, Jason, for referring to you, but as I had listened to you, you were speaking a different language, but you were talking about all the same things I experience in a different way, in a different light.
Mm-hmm.
And the point is, I feel that if we can recognize all of that, all the wording, all of the vocabulary, doesn't matter. What is it at the center and at the core of all of that is oneness. is love. It's unity.
Yeah.
And so, but the sad thing is that and I'll call it third dimension awareness, is that we're not thinking like that. We're thinking more in terms of like me versus them. We have this separation with everyone and everything. And so my hope is, and my dream and my vision, and I believe I see it in this new awareness. I feel more and more of us will still be able to listen to someone express themselves as a Catholic or as LDS or as woo, whatever, way that they express themselves, but that we'll honor that, we'll respect that. And what we will all notice, because we'll come from a place of wisdom, is we're all going on that same journey towards the same thing, which is divine light and love and oneness. The same thing. We all want the same thing. We're just expressing it in different ways.
Yeah. And it's
So,
like I sang this little clip last class. We're all in this together.
yeah,
Right? Like and that's true. I mean, this is a reality. This is real stuff that's happening. Mother Earth is up-leveling. The people on the planet are being exposed to greater levels of light, greater levels of truth. The eyes of our understanding are being opened to more expansion. And this is a reality of what's taking place. You can't just bury your head in the sand and say that
right,
it's not. But as it does, like you said, it creates this agitation for those who still want to maintain or cling to the old paradigm or the 3D, the telestial world, cling to that the old ways. It's going to create some discomfort, and there is fear around that.
right.
Um, how do you recommend? Do you have any recommendations as to how to navigate this safely? And because it is uncomfortable to up
Yeah,
level.
yeah, absolutely. Did I have a question first from Mike? I want to honor that.
Yeah, go ahead, Mike. Whatever your comment or question was, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, when you were talking about like the whole oneness and Zion and everything, like, and how like it's the cyclical effect of it, like in all reality, like, and I don't know how to articulate the stuff that I'm learning or that but it is here.
Mhm.
We're all one decision away from it, like, and I feel like, I mean, in all reality, like this group is my Zion.
Yeah.
Like, and so it's just a matter of how are you going to define that, like being around like-minded people. And and I'll, quite frankly, since Anne just talked about it, I just went to the temple this morning and I had the most wild experience there because I was escorted into a portion of the temple that I'm not allowed to go. And I even asked them, I was like, I don't think I'm supposed to be in here. And they're like, oh, no, you're fine. And then when they found out that I'm not endowed, they were like, how did you get in here? And I was like, I'm the one that told the person I don't think I'm supposed to be in here. And, and it just really like, and so it's really in my life, like, and then I had conversations, about like, how I live this like double life, but I don't, because like, yes, I go to church, but as I shared with Janet, like I gave a talk 3 weeks ago and I showed up to my LDS ward in sandals, shorts, and a t-shirt to give a talk. And just because it was about judgment. And let me tell you what, I got quite the judgment. And so it's like I enjoy being at a higher dimension and like pushing these people's buttons, making them kind of think outside the box kind of thing. Because it's like, no, I'm just here to spread love, like that's, and like you said, Anne, like at the end of the day, that's all it doesn't matter if you're Catholic,
Right.
Protestant, whatever it is, we're just trying to be the number one Christ-like attribute, and that's
Right.
love.
Exactly. Boy, that was beautiful. And thank you for being an instigator. I love that. I've always been a rebel and instigator my whole life. So I appreciate that.
You know what I
Well,
love about that, Mike, is that I watched that talk, by the way, and I thought it was fantastic. But what I love about it is that you weren't trying to be belligerent or rub something in anyone's faces. You were just trying to get people thinking
yeah,
for themselves and thinking outside of the box. And I think that's a healthy agitation. We should all feel uncomfortable right now in some ways because expansion cannot happen in a place of comfort.
right. And so that was beautiful, Mike. Thank you for that. And it just made me think too, like when you said you you weren't allowed to go in a certain place and then you were. I mean, it's like, what is that all about? Shouldn't we all be able to go to the same place? I mean, does there have to be rules and that you can go here and you can't go there and you can do this? We're all one. We're all one. And that is the biggest thing that I know Janet and all of us here, focus on and recognize. So you talked about how, we move into this new way of being,
Mhm.
and it's about collaboration. It's all about collaboration. It's no more about competition. You're not better than me. I'm not better than you. It's not about I am winning. Years ago, I worked with a lot of inner city kids that came into a camp, and we called it Camp Ubuntu,
Yes.
which means I am because we are. In other words, that I am doesn't exist. Because,
It's on my vision board, Anne.
beautiful. And, I learned from the kids so much because I was watching the adults and how the adults behaved with each other. And with the kids, they were just excited, to be in nature, to play, to have fun and to connect. So anyway, that word Ubuntu means a lot to me. I am because we are. Of course, yes, each of us walk down our own path and we travel this journey. But together we are more powerful. Together we're stronger. And I feel that this is absolutely the next step in our journey. It's togetherness. And so here are some of the downloads I got. Each of us must share our own gifts in our own unique way. No more playing small. No more
Mm.
playing small. And whether it's Katie or Mike or somebody has whatever that gift might be. And don't look at like, well, wow, I didn't write a book or, I don't channel or whatever it is. Every single being has a gift that they can share. It could be something small where, you say hi to people that are strangers or thank you, or you smile at someone or whatever it may be. But the big message was no more playing small. So,
I think that is such an important concept or principle because I think there are so many people who really don't believe that they have the power to make
right.
any kind of significant changes in what's going on here. I mean, clearly, what's going on here on this planet needs to shift. It needs to change. It needs to pass away so we can recreate something new.
Yeah.
But I think there are a lot of people who don't believe they have the power to influence that. So can
Yeah.
you talk about that or talk to that a little bit?
Yeah. So I'm gonna get, to that in just a little bit. But I mean, kind of reiterating what I said, every single being has what I like to refer to as this divine light within. Now, me personally, I call it Christ consciousness. And it doesn't matter what you name it, God, your higher self, it doesn't matter. Again, I'm not into the wording of things anymore. It's about the feeling,
Yeah.
right? It's about the feeling and the knowing. That's more important than the words we use. But that infinite divine light within each of us goes through an expansion and a contraction. And what I mean by that, I'm going to take you for a ride on the woo-woo train for just a second. So that light has to contract and expand. And what I mean by that is that we need to go in. So we're expanding, we're out here in our world, we're taking information through our meditation, our prayer, but we always must go back in. We must contract, we must go within, we must discern what is right for us. And then we go step back out into the world again, having grown from that expansion and contraction. So this was all download that I'm sharing with you, and please ask questions. And that is how we finally become one. That is how we finally become one with the light of love and God. Think of expansion and contraction like a breath, so you breathe in and your awareness almost always naturally goes within, and you breathe out and, your awareness goes out, right? So we're breathing out carbon dioxide, we're breathing in oxygen. And so as we keep recognizing this breath of life, this expansion and contraction, individually, our center, our oneness, within our own energy field, it's almost like a starting point on a map, like an inner GPS, if you will. So we must always first know and understand ourselves, our own inner GPS. That's where it begins. And I know it's been said many times throughout the Bible as well, right? Know thyself. And when we do that, before we venture out, like for instance, just imagine you're going on a trip. I mean, do you just jump in your car? Well, sometimes I do and go. But you want to have that map, you want to have that GPS, and you have a starting point, right? And so in this case, the starting point is you, is your higher self, your God, your Christ consciousness, that divine light within you before you journey out there into the world. So coming back to stillness is so important. And that is one, well, it's always been, but especially in this new earth and this new way of being, stillness, meditation, going within, listening, that is one of the things that we're all going to have to practice. And there are many ways to do that, right? And so, it could be what you call meditation. It could be through prayer. You all know that I love nature. I go in nature. Sometimes I'll sit under a tree and I just breathe and I go within. But here's the key thing that I am recognizing for me, and is that when I go within, the first question I ask is, what do I need to know? What do I need to know? And for me, this has been my GPS, my guiding light, so to speak. So just wanted to share that with you, something to consider if it resonates with you. Now I do that every morning. I wake up and I say, thank you for this breath of life. And then I say, what do I need to know today? So I know that for this new way of being, it's going to be no longer playing small, definitely having a practice, to go within so that you are connecting with your divine light. And all right, I'm going to throw this in because it's my thing. Go out in nature, connect with nature. We talk about nature, and I think a lot of people just assume that there's nature, there's us. Well, guess what? We are nature. We are one with nature. So if you have no other practice or no other way of making that connection with unity and with oneness, go out in nature, sit in stillness, ask questions, and you will absolutely come to know yourself. So I want to share something that, that these downloads that I get and how I've connected with different ascended beings and so forth. So over the years, I've connected with Jesus, with Michael the Archangel, with Saint Germain, Mother Mary, and as we travel this spiritual path, this journey, we connect with more and more of these spiritual beings who, by the way, they're all here to help us. They all want to support us on this journey. But the most powerful message was, for myself, is that we want you to be autonomous. We want you to take responsibility for your life. In other words, stop saying, well, God, you did this, or, God did this to me, or God said this, or God is saying, the God of this universe is saying, we want you to become powerful. We want you to be empowered. We want you to recognize that divine light within you. We want you to take responsibility for your life and for your decisions. But yes, we're here to support you. So that was one of the biggest downloads. And so I just wanted to share something where recently, all of a sudden, Metatron shows up, and I'm Metatron. And by the way, I speak to my spiritual beings the way I speak to people, like, who are you? What do you want with me? What am I supposed to do with this? And I really do believe that wherever our energy is, that's how beings show up with us. So they'll have a sense of humor with me because that's who I am. And so then one being showed up. I was hiking one day, and all of a sudden, right in front of my face, and that's how they'll show up because they know I'm a little hard-headed. And so it'll be like this big image right in front of me. So there's this chief white cloud, and I'm like, Chief White Cloud, who are you? So I never ask for these things. They show up. And then my thinking mind wants to understand. So I'll go back and do some research. And sure enough, it always fits, right? It always confirms the messages I'm getting. So there's Metatron, Chief White Cloud, Michael and Jesus, and they're all like surrounding me. I'm like, why? What is this? And they said, because as you keep walking your spiritual path, we are just protecting you, guiding you, and helping you to move forward on your path. And so I just said, oh, okay, great. Just very casual. But what I wanted to share was that, so when Metatron showed up, I was fascinated with that. And I thought, okay, what does this mean? So as I looked it up, Metatron means oneness, unity, and also shifting into this new way of being and moving through from one phase to another. So then I was able to come back and say, excuse me, okay, now I understand why you showed up at this time. So what I want to share about all of that woo-woo stuff is that we are shown things every single day in our lives to help us and to teach us. But the universe doesn't speak English. I hate to tell you that the universe does not speak English or any other language. But what it does is shows up in symbols. It shows up in, like a song. I mean, have you guys ever, you're thinking about something or someone, and all of a sudden a song comes on the radio? Has that ever happened to you?
Yes, all the time.
Yeah. Right? Or, all of a sudden you're thinking about someone and the phone rings and there they are. And it goes on and on and on every single day.
Mm-hmm.
We are so loved. We are so loved by all these wonderful, amazing spiritual beings and ascended masters and God and whatever you choose to call it. And so literally they will show us. However, it's so subtle that sometimes we ignore it, or we don't trust it, or we don't pay attention to it. Right? Somebody said numbers. Yeah, absolutely. And by the
well, it's a wavelength. It's when we dial into that wavelength, then everything on that wavelength is going to start showing up, including nature.
Absolutely. And so there are quite a few things that are sort of a must as we step into this new earth and this new way of being. And the other thing I want to talk about is trust.
Mm-hmm.
Not just trust, but trust in yourself. Trust in your own power. Trust in whatever it is that's coming through you, your divine light. So whatever is coming through you is meant for you on your journey. So that's one of the biggies, trusting in yourself. And the other thing that was downloaded, and I sort of scribbled down some notes, is about frequencies. Yes. That is the other thing, frequencies and vibrations. And now those can come through song, music, and I don't know, sometimes I get on YouTube and I play these, what do they call hertz, like 936 or these different hertz. These sounds are going to be so important in this new earth and this new way of being, and vibrations and frequencies. And here's the thing, when you tune in to number one, your own vibration, which you can, you become in alignment with your own journey, with your own path. And how can you do that? By listening. Every time you go in within and you connect with your divine light and you simply listen, you can almost feel the vibration, or you can hear that sound or that frequency. And once you align with that, then what happens is you can expand that to align with nature, to align with other people. And I think this is something that connects with what you talk about, Janet, in the quantum field. And so a lot of people now are talking about the field isn't just even separate from us.
No.
It is us.
Yeah.
We are one, right, with the field. And so wouldn't it behoove us to really begin to understand the importance of frequencies and vibrations and how we can connect?
Yeah.
So,
You know, I've said this to my clients for years. Who you are is not a doing. Who you are is a feeling. And once you understand what the feeling of your own vibration is,
right,
now you can discern. Now you have discernment because you know what truth feels like when you're tapped into yourself.
right, absolutely. You know, I used to be a poet, so as I scribbled down something, even when I get the downloads, some of it sounds poetic, and talking about subtleties and how things show up. You know, so one of the subtleties could be like a rainbow. You know, you're walking and it starts to rain and you're drenched and you're thinking about how cold you are and you're wet, and all of a sudden there's a rainbow. You know, or you're walking through a desert or some barren place, and maybe the feeling of that is emptiness, but then all of a sudden you notice this one flower, you know, coming out of this barren, dry area. And I feel like we've been trapped, maybe in a sense, like we've been in this cocoon in a way, you know, through our beliefs, our patterns, our religions, or everything that we were taught. And I feel that this new way is almost like we become the butterfly. And now we have to learn how to fly. We have to learn how to flap our wings. And so we are being freed. We are being freed from all of these things we talked about. And so now we can become that butterfly. We can completely break through out of that cocoon. And like I said, and like Jason said, we're still at that phase where we're still breaking out of it, you know, but some of us already flapped our wings and just kind of gone, right, with the wind.
Yeah.
But connecting with sounds and the field of vibration, that definitely is one that we could probably do a whole show on, you know, talking about frequencies and vibrations and the quantum field, if you will. When we learn to breathe in and out, and this is just my description, I feel like the whole universe, God, has like this in and out breath, this contraction, this expansion. So when we can align with that frequency and become this breath with God, this breath with the universe, this breath, we can match our own breath with all of that, that we're completely and fully aligned with who we are and with the oneness. And if that sounds a little too out there, ask questions.
Well, Anne, would you be willing to describe, because that reminds me of conversations you and I have both had where we've stepped into the oneness and literally felt the expansive feeling of being one with all and all with one. Could you share your experience, having that experience of stepping into that?
Wow. Okay, so I'm going to try to find the words, because it is hard to describe it in words. And Mike says he's into the frequency class. I know. I think we should absolutely do that.
Should. Well, I'm writing that down.
Yeah. So when you really experience that oneness, I felt like I completely lost myself, but in a good way. Like I
Mhm.
wasn't connected with all the aches and pains and all the different things that go on with our bodies. I was just in this space where I felt pure love. I felt pure love. I felt pure acceptance. I wasn't worried about anything, wasn't thinking about anything. I was just being. And the words that kept coming up was, I am. I am that I am that I am. And that's something that I want to just touch on for a moment, because I know it's hard for us as human beings with everything we've been taught to even think about, like, I am one with God and God is one with me. But that is the message. That is the message, because when we all become one, we are bringing that oneness of God, into unity. We are becoming the God that we're all meant to be. I'm going to say this one more time. We are so much more powerful than we realize sometimes. And I'm still working on that. There are times I forget.
Mhm.
I forget that I am. I forget that I'm that powerful. But that's why it's wonderful to have groups like this and talks like this, because we're reminded. We all need the reminders, right?
Yeah.
Um, I just want to say that some tools, we're talking about frequency and vibration. Some ways that we can do that and connect with that. Obviously, it's through meditation, singing, dancing, chanting, and again, connecting with the frequency of nature. And by the way, you probably all know this, but there is a frequency that comes up from the earth, and I think it's 0.1 hertz, I believe. I may be wrong, but when we go out into nature and we put our bare feet on the ground, we are picking up that frequency which aligns with our own.
Yes.
And I've seen people heal themselves from that. I've seen people just sort of suddenly come out of that space and they're feeling more peace. Because when we go out into nature and we put our bare feet into the ground, we are aligning with the same frequency that we are. So that's another way that you can connect with that frequency. When we connect with that, when we connect with each other like this, when we connect with that frequency in nature, that's how we can understand oneness. That's how we can begin to experience more and more of that energy of oneness.
And I'm going to just interject really quick in there because that's how I experienced it. Lots of people know my story. I had adrenal failure as a result of lots of autoimmune illness in my life. I was sick for a really long time, and then I had adrenal failure, popped out of the body several times. But in one of those situations, that's what happened. I popped away from the body, so my consciousness was not really focused on the distractions of my brain anymore. I
Right.
was just free. I was just in a state of beingness. And I tell people I stepped into the oneness. And what I experienced was I am consciously, in my conscious awareness, I am every blade of grass, every grain of sand, every mountaintop, every ocean floor, every
Yes.
star in the sky. I am the container of the universe. And so everything that's looking back at me in my external world is me.
Right.
And that oneness, knowing that then, and when you encounter and interact with other humans and plants and animals, you start treating them very differently when you see them as if they are you.
Absolutely. Very powerful words. Very well said. That's very true. That is the oneness. We are one with everything. We are one. Everything is one with us. And so thank you for that. I feel like when we connect with that oneness in whatever way, singing, dancing, meditating, connecting with nature, it's no longer a thought. Because, we talk about oneness, it's a word, it's a thought, it's in our brain. But so many indigenous cultures understood this.
Mhm.
And as you guys know, I'm sure you all agree with this, that the stuff that we're talking about was spoken in different languages, maybe in a different way, way back, hundreds of years ago with other cultures. But if you think about it, there's a sameness with most of those cultures. They were always connected to the stars and to the earth. There was always that connection. They talked about their spiritual stuff coming from the stars, and they were very connected with nature. And so everything, comes full circle. And we don't have to share this now, but I want to step back for a moment about Metatron. So if you guys have seen the Metatron's cube, so there's the flower of life in the center, and there's many circles all the way around. And because I'm so visual,
How about that?
there we are. So when Metatron came up, and again, I look at everything as a symbol. It's reminding me of something. It's sending me a message, and it's how I interpret it. That's important. So I've always seen us as, so think of those circles around as individuals, and there's millions of them, right? But here you are living in your circle, in your comfort zone, in your world, with your beliefs, with everything you've been taught. But we're all of these circles are still, it's like a magnetic pull. We're trying to get to that center, to that light, to that seed, to that flower of light. And I call it that divine light, right? That is the oneness of God. And so all of these little circles, the only way that we can get there is if we step outside of our little circle. And maybe you step outside of your circle into someone else's, and you learn something and you grow. And each time we all step outside our comfort zone, which I am so proud of so many people in this group, because so many of you have stepped out of your comfort zone as far as with some of your religious beliefs and your culture. So this is how we expand. This is how we grow. And the journey is about all of us going to center. That's where we're all trying to go back to. We're trying to go home. There's this pull to go home. And so each time we step out of our little comfort zone, our little area, and we step out of that, we grow, we expand, our circle becomes bigger. It then begins to join with others. And so I feel that Metatron showed up to sort of remind me of this oneness, of this unity, this new earth, this place that we're in currently. And so every time I look at the symbol, this is what I'm reminded of. So thank you for sharing that.
I also, when you and I talked, I also remember you talking about how when you do your meditations, you start out in the center by connecting to yourself in your own center. But then you take these journeys through your meditations using the imagination, and the that's your window to your soul. But
Right.
you'll take these journeyings out to the outer edges of the universe. So like you can see the spokes in the center of the wheel, in the center of this image,
Right.
and how there's millions of tendrils of light that will go out and out and out in every direction for infinity. And that you could ride any one of those millions of spokes from the center out to the edges of the galaxy or the universe, and then bring that learning back into your center, back home
Right.
with you for your own expansion.
Right. And going back to some of the things we said earlier about that contraction and expansion is so important. And yes, we all have access to everything in this universe. And it's not just in our little space where we live and our little beliefs that we have and all of those things. It's anywhere and everywhere. But what's so important, I've found anyway, is to really develop and strengthen that inner divine light. Because it's kind of like, you're a kid and you're like, hey, I'm going to explore and be adventurous. And you put on your backpack and, you go out to one path and you explore that. But you always have a way to come back home and to go, wow, that was amazing. What does that mean for me? How can I grow from that? And so we take a breather and we meditate and we go within and we take that information and we expand our awareness from that. And then perhaps the next day we go out onto a different path. But the point is that, I know I'm very colorful in my expressions, but the point is that we all have access. And what I call these pathways, if you will, they're frequencies and they're vibrations of light. So when you go into meditation and you tap into your own frequency and your own vibration, some of these will naturally open up to you. And some of them you can choose to go on, right?
Yeah.
But yes, that expansion and contraction is exactly like that. It's even a little bit like the mandala behind me that's hanging, behind me. There's always that center, and there are all the spokes, just going out. So this is what excites me about life, is that I am not just stuck here, in this one place. There you go. By the way, guys, this was a download. I was hiking, and for 2 hours, this was like download. And I'm going, well, I don't have a way of writing this down. What am I going to do? So literally, I finished my hike and I came home and I drew this, and then it looked terrible. And so my son is an artist, and I said, hey, can you create this for me? And everything I am shown is about circles, and it's about center. It's about circles, it's about center, and always showing these spokes of the different paths of vibration and frequencies that we can take. And so how exciting is that? I'm not stuck in my little place where I'm sitting right now. I can go out, I can explore, I can learn, I can come back, and I can expand my awareness. And that, to me, is just amazing and powerful, and is the way that we all come together in oneness.
Mhm.
That's how we come together in oneness, not by just staying stuck in our little space. Anything you want to add to that, Janet?
Oh, there's so much that I want to say right now. Yeah, I think I've been telling people a lot this in my one-on-one coaching with people, that if you want healing too, if you're looking to heal your physical ailments and your challenges and your struggles in your body or your bank account or your relationships, it all has to do with awareness and then surrender through free will. You gotta learn to choose to let go of something that you're clamping down on or clinging to. And then it's about expansion. So when you get to that expanded level, that's healing. That is wholeness. You're uniting with the wholeness within you, and every cell in your body can be like one of those mandalas that I had up on the screen that you downloaded.
Yeah, I think somebody said they didn't quite understand that. Alicia, I believe,
Okay.
had a question.
Let's go to the questions. We did have a comment about Yahweh, his breath in our lungs, meaning Christ consciousness.
Mhm.
Yah is the inhale and Weh is the exhale. It's beautiful.
I love that.
Andrea said, when I first started on my expansive journey, I literally felt my frequency change, almost as if I was breaking out of a shell or molting each time I rose higher and higher in frequency. I think that's
Oh,
interesting.
that's beautiful.
And it does feel like that.
Yeah.
Lane says, I always ask to be able to remember in completeness if I can't write. Okay, good. Alicia says, I'm not sure I understand the images you showed. I'd like to understand though. You want to reiterate?
Sure.
I can.
So I'm very visual. So some people, when these symbols and these things show up for them, they have more of a feeling. I see, and I feel both. And so what this represents is the center is, for me, this is my description, is divine light. It's my heart center, my power center. It's that place within me. And that divine light, I call it Christ consciousness, because I feel Christ consciousness is within all of us. And then all the spokes are these frequencies or vibrations that exist in our energy field. And that's how we can go out. So in other words, if you go into meditation, you connect with your divine light, and then you want to, say, have a conversation or have an experience with a higher being, with an ascended master, with another timeline. I mean, this can go on, right? This is how you would journey out in your imagination, in, expanding from your divine light. And as you go out onto these vibrations or frequencies, this is where you can connect with just about anything in the universe. And by the way, I'm always shown whatever it is I need in that moment. So we might even have an idea of, hey, I'd like to go here and have this and make this happen. But I feel that we're always guided exactly where we are. The universe meets us exactly where we are. So it's not overwhelming. It's not too much.
Yeah.
Um,
She's asking, what are the paths?
what do you mean by that, Alicia? What do you mean? What are the paths?
I think she's asking, you know how you talk about you can take any one of those tendrils of light and expand yourself out or go out from center and experience some sort of expansiveness of it.
Right.
I think what she's asking is what are those paths and vectors? And I would venture to say that it's just opening your mind and letting go of what you think you know so that you can explore what heaven wants to teach you.
Right.
Those are the paths.
That's perfect. Exactly it. And one of the things about that mandala, about that spoke, it's the most important thing, and I've said it a dozen times, is it's important that you develop your divine light, your center.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, you guys probably know this, but our mind does not know the difference between real or imagined. How powerful is that? That means that whatever you journey out and you use your imagination, the mind is accepting of that. So if you are taking a journey in meditation because you experience love and peace and light and all of those wonderful things, then that is what your hard drive, your brain will accept. So we are the creators of everything. We are the creators of our life. We're the creators of everything as I look out my window that I am experiencing. We are the creators because if we are one with God, if God is a part of us and God created life, then what? Then we can also create, our world, our experiences. And it happens from here and it happens from here. I know you guys all know about the brain-heart coherence, right? So when we make that connection, that's where we want to create from. I don't know if I explain these spokes to you, Alicia, because again, I'm very, very visual. And so I see those spokes as a path. I see it as a vibration, a frequency. And that is how you can go into meditation, go into stillness, and you can travel as you align your own vibration with one of those frequencies.
It's exploration.
Right.
You're exploring your own consciousness.
Right.
Through
Exactly.
the intuitive mind, your imagination, and you're just allowing it to play out so that you can expand what you think you know.
Right. I always say I'm the Indiana Jones of this universe, of the cosmos, reminds me of, something I missed that I want to touch on for a moment, because we talked about the most important thing is the oneness and the unity and the coming together, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I feel lucky that as a child, even though I lived in what we might all call complete poverty, that I had that experience. So I know it can happen. I know it exists. I lived in a small village, in a small island, and ran around bare feet and, had to patch up my house with cow dung and mud. And, but the key thing is the only way that we all survived, because we didn't have TVs and stores and all of that stuff, was what was in our community, what was in our backyard, what was there. And so another parent could raise someone else's kid when that parent was busy with something, or food. Somebody had a overabundance of food and they would share it with other people. And so I got to experience that for about 15 years. So I understand that we're in a whole different time and place. And it might be difficult for us to have these, gardens and have this type of community, but we can do that in a different way. We're doing it now. We're all sharing information. We're sharing our gifts. We're sharing with each other. So this is one way. Another way we can do it is just start in small steps, like maybe with just a neighbor, or maybe with your church or your community. So there's many ways that we can begin that, but I absolutely see us coming back to somewhat to that way of life. And you guys probably listen to different podcasts, and Greg Braden and a lot of those people, they themselves are already living like that, having their gardens and having their co-ops in their community. So I see some of that happening in this new earth.
Yeah. Another word for it, another terminology for that is consecration. It's creating an environment where there literally is no rich and no poor among us, but people's needs and their wants are satisfied.
That word just shot this feeling through me because that has been my intention and my hope my whole life. And so I'll say this without going deep into it, that, you know, if you have nothing at all, you have assistance. If you have a lot, it doesn't matter. But it's always all the people in between in that space that seem to struggle. And so my wish and my dream and my hope has always been to create wellness centers, to create spaces where everyone has access to it. And I know that's a big picture dream, but that has been my hope and my dream. Everyone is a child of God. Everyone deserves to have health and wellness and spiritual guidance and all of those things that they need. Okay, I'm about to get choked up. So, any questions for anyone else?
Corrine says, I have this download to New Earth Consecration. Well, yeah,
Oh,
because I think a lot of people are seeing this. I think a lot of people are, creation happens first in the mind and in the awareness, and then you jump onto that frequency and it starts to materialize into the physical dimension, which is the last expression of what you've
right.
created. And I believe that's where we're going. I think that the scales or the pendulum has swung so far over into the state of darkness and prison. And I mean, that all was born of free will. We live in a universe that honors free will and agency. And because it does, the pendulum has swung all the way over here. And now I think that we're seeking for our way back into center, which is
Perfectly said.
compassion and
Perfectly.
love.
Yeah. And I want to say something about that. So sometimes when we think about, oh, the pendulum was over here in this darkness, we might tend to see that. Our thinking mind sees that as, oh, that was horrible, that was bad. Yes, it was. But this is how this whole universe works. This is how we learn and we grow. So the pendulum is always, I mean, even as we move into this new earth at some time, everything is cyclical, right? So maybe for quite a few years, we'll be in this new earth. But then in order for us to step it up another level, the pendulum is going to swing again.
Yeah, it's
It's
more
just
like, rather than a pendulum, I do feel like it's like an ascending vortex. We're
right.
cycling in and out of darkness and light and ascending up through the overcoming.
And each time I feel like the lessons of the darkness is lighter because we've grown from that. And so even when we cycle back to another learning point where we will be challenged, it will be a little bit lighter. And so at some point, I honestly, my experience, I don't see all these big wars happening. I see that changing, but there's going to be other disruptions in the energy field so that we can learn. I always, sometimes in my prayer, my meditation, I go, can we just be in nirvana and learn? And there's this big, no, nope, sorry.
Yeah. Well, we can all sit around in love and peace and light singing Kumbaya, but eventually we'll get bored.
Right.
Because we want to expand. And I think that's probably one of the reasons why we all opted to come to this planet. We knew it was going to be kind of a difficult place to be for a time period, but we wanted that expansion.
Right. Exactly. And that's the main thing to remember as we're going through some of these challenges. And some of them can be very difficult to remember. We said at some point, we wanted to learn, we wanted to grow, we wanted to become the best version of ourselves. And so the universe is always willing to help us. And it says, okay, here you are, go down to Earth School and you'll learn and you'll grow. So absolutely. Do we have a few minutes for a quick meditation or would you like to wrap things up?
Let's finish it with a quick meditation. I think that would be a perfect way to end today. And then just a reminder to you guys, those of you who are going to join me for the extended healing circle over on my website, Great Life, Greater Impact. We're going to do a little bit more of this. We're going to step into the oneness today and do some of our own inner healing work. So if that is something that you feel you need today, go over to the website and you can get yourself registered. So I'm going to turn the remainder of the time to you, Anne, to just guide us into a connecting meditation.
And if anyone has any questions or wants to connect, Janet will put my information up at the end. Before I go into this, I just want to say genuinely from my heart, this group of people, whenever I jump onto your group, there's so much love and so much light that comes from this group. And what's interesting, at the same time, I see us as one when we come together, but I also feel the individual journeys that we're on.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that. I love that I can see that oneness and not have an expectation that we're all at exactly the same place.
Yeah.
But everybody here has a desire to grow. So I just want to share that with you.
Perfect.
So let's take a moment and open your eyes, close your eyes. I like to close my eyes so I'm not distracted. And let's take that breath of life in. Let's be mindful as we take that breath of life in. And as you do that, I want to remind you that each and every day, we should never take anything for granted. We should always be in gratitude for the smallest of things, like that breath. So as you breathe in that breath of life and you follow that into your body, allow yourself to drop deep down within yourself as that breath moves through your nostrils and into your lungs. And at the same time, you can set an intention that that breath of life is healing you, calming you. And as you breathe out, you can set an intention that you are releasing from your body, your mind, your soul, anything that is no longer serving you. You are breathing it out. You are letting it go. Your intentions are powerful. Your body responds. So take another deep breath in of calm relaxation and feel that energy begin to fill up your body. And as you breathe out and you send that intention of releasing, begin to feel a sort of lightness in your body as you release physical and emotional and mental and just tension and tightness and anything you've been holding on to. Let it go. Let it go. Each time you breathe in, you're now filling up those spaces that you have emptied of what is no longer serving you. So just take 2 more breaths in, breathing in that calmness and breathing out and letting go. So that with the next breath, as you breathe out, you're recognizing and noticing within your body that there is this wonderful empty space. And as you breathe in, that space is now filled with calm relaxation. And I'm going to count from 5 to 1. And with each count, I invite you to drop down even deeper. And today I'm going to ask you to not just drop into your heart center, but also connect your heart center with your power center, which is right beneath that. And as we bring those two together, that is what forms our divine light, our Christ consciousness. So as I count from 5 to 1, choose whatever level you'd like to go to, going from 5 to 4, all the way down to 3, all the way down to 2, and all the way down to 1, dropping down into your heart center and your power center. And perhaps you just notice a stillness. I call it a place of no mind, no time. And this is a place where there's no judgment. There's just being. And this is where your power lies. This is the place where you can make changes in your life, where you can recognize your journey, your path, your purpose. When we pay attention to these things from our thinking mind, the answers come from all of our past beliefs, from everything that we've been taught. But when we drop down to this oneness, to this divine light within us, and we ask, what do I need to know? The answers that immediately well up within you is for your purpose, your path, your journey. And that you can trust. That divine light is connected to the God within you, within me, within all of us. So get to know this place, get to know this space within you, so that when you connect, you can ask the questions and just listen without judgment. And it's from this place, from the center, that you can also journey out and expand out into this amazing, wonderful universe where you can find guidance, where you can expand your awareness, but always come home to center, to that divine light, that Christ consciousness within you. So as you take a deep breath, let that light expand within you. Let it fill up your body completely so that you feel that sense of calm, of well-being, just spread through your whole body. Wonderful. And as I count from 1 to 5, and I slowly guide your awareness back, I invite you to bring that feeling of lightness, that calm, and that peace, because this is your true nature. All the other things you experience in life do not define you. This is who you are. And each and every day you can tap into that source and you can bring that back. Bring that up to the surface with you so you can go out into the world and function from that place. So very slowly bringing your awareness up to 1 and 2, all the way up to 3 and 4. And as you come up to 5, take your time, open your eyes when you are ready. And I hope you move through the rest of your day from that center within yourself.
Wow. Thank you.
I can feel that. Wow.
Yeah. It's amazing when a group of people tap in to
Yeah.
themselves and then expand out into that oneness. You
Right.
feel it. You
It
feel
is.
it. And so I want to just add this, that back to the title of our discussion today, which is the new earth is already here. There's no waiting. We are not waiting for the second coming of Christ. Christ consciousness is here. He will be embodied in all of those who seek to expand their consciousness.
Right.
So in my mind, that is the early beginning stages of what we've all been collectively waiting for in the coming of Christ. It's already here.
Yeah.
We're not waiting for Zion. It's already here. It's a
Right.
matter of where will you choose to put your attention and your awareness, and then back your U-Haul up into that space. There is no necessarily a Zion city that's going to be created first. It's happening inside here.
Right.
That's the creation. That's the up-leveling. That's the expanded consciousness. That's the atonement, the at-one-ment. That's the divine realm of the atonement. We're not waiting for anything. It's a matter of being aware and choosing where you're going to put that awareness. So thank you, Anne, for the reminder.
Absolutely. I just want to end with something, Janet, and thank you for that. That's absolutely perfect. It's just about shifting our awareness. It's already there. It's shifting our awareness And I just want to add that something that is so important, that we honor each other. You know, whether someone believes this or believes that, the thing I always look for in people is, are you kind? Are you loving? You know, are you walking a spiritual path? You know, it's okay if you believe this, and that's where you are on your journey. So I just want to end by saying, let's honor everyone.
Mhm.
Let's just honor and have respect for everyone. Thank you all so much. I love this energy.
Yeah, it's really
Thank you.
good. This is a great little community. Thank you guys for showing up. Thank you for contributing. Thank you for being present. Thank you for doing your inner work. And if you'd like to do a little bit more, meet me over on greatlifegreaterimpact.com. You can join us in the Live Healing Circle extended class later today. It's happening in less than an hour. So thanks guys for being here. Have a blessed rest of your day. Mwah. Take care. Bye. Thank you, Anne.
Bye, everyone.
Take
Thank
care.
you.